of Lincoln, America. It's time for the with Mike Milby on 93.7 Start. Yeah.
Good evening and welcome into the finish line. I'm Mike Melby. Rebecca Pearson to my right, Bree Fansteel to my left, Sport Mod driver out at Eagle Raceway. And we're going to get into a whole host of topics tonight. Get your opinion on things. Bree, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So what was it? About 3 weeks ago, you show up at the track and just a normal week, nothing special going on. And then you run into this gal.
Yeah, this crazy lady came up to me and she's like, "You want to be on a radio show?" And I'm like, what? Here we are.
She was super relaxed. I saw her in the pits and I was like, this girl, she's like, I'm cool. I'm hanging out on my car, right? Looking, got my suit on and everything ready. And she looked like she was a real racer. So I couldn't help but walk up to her and say, who are you?
Yeah, that's my place. Grocery store, not so much.
No.
The racetrack, that's my place.
I'm with you, girl.
That's
Definitely.
awesome. A couple of the stories that were kind of going on around dirt track, and it kind of applies to a lot of different type of racing pavement. SCA, I would imagine about anything. But the mental burden of racing on drivers, on crew guys, on the wives, the families, the kids, all of it. We'll talk about that from a weekly level all the way to a national level. What we'll get your thoughts, Bree, as well. The talent pool of top shelf drivers. Lance Dewease was let go in the 69K by Don Kreitz earlier this week, last week, kind of a surprise. Dewease is going to find a ride. He's a National Sprint Car Hall of Famer, but Don Kreitz had 75 people call him and say, I want to drive your race car. There's not 75 people that can compete at the level that Lance Dewease won at. By the way, Lance Dewease won at about a 28% clip. When he showed up with Donnie Kreitz at 69K, he won about 28% of the times. So how do you get to that level, and what is that talent pool like? That's been something that's been interesting, and it also applies to late models. I mean, there's not a lot of Ricky Thornton Jr.'s, and there's not a lot of Brandon Shepherds and Hudson O'Neill's out there. Some people think they are, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, a topic that I just discovered, Bree, you're a fan of. We're going to talk about aggressive driving versus flat out on purpose wrecking somebody.
There's a big difference.
There is.
And we have examples this week because we talked about Jade before we got on air here. So
yeah, we did. We can announce it. It's kind of the ink is dry on the imaginary contract.
Yeah.
We are going to have be fortunate enough to have on the finish line on August 20th, Jade Avedisian, who is piloting a USAC midget and is kind of schooling the boys right now.
Big time.
Had a huge win, pass out of turn 4 last night on the closing lap. Those of us who follow midget racing remember the pass on Timez back in March that got Timez all up in arms, and it's just fantastic. So all kinds of things to talk about tonight. Real quick, though, Bree, how did you get your start in racing?
Yeah, so I started off, I was not really involved with cars much. My dad had a hot rod, and he'd always work in the garage, and when mom was busy, I'd go in the garage and help him work on the car, but really it was me. He'd give me a bottle of like Windex and a rag, and I'd clean the windshield, and I was like, yeah, this added like 10 more horse, right? No, so that was nothing. My older brother, Chase, he got into karting. I kind of ignored it. Thought it was dumb. I'd go out to the track sometimes. I made a bunch of little girlfriends out there when we were about 7 or 8. Nacho cheese all over my face, and one night I decided to actually watch him. My brother's like 6 years older than me. And I'm watching him. I was like, dang, he's doing pretty good. I could beat him. I know I could. I was like, Dad, give me in a cart. Let me try it. I'm going to kick his butt. Got out there super slow. Like you could get a brisk walk in and pass me, but I thought I was flying. My dad had talked about this racing bug. He's like, no, I'm doing this, you're gonna get bit. And I was like, I will all of fun. We get in the car that night and I go, Dad? He's like, yes, Bree. I was like, I got bit. He's like, I bet you did. So his wallet's over here crying. And then it just kind of took off from there. kind of doing karting for about 5 years, running a lot of my brother's stuff. So that was kind of fun. If I wasn't going fast enough or not running, we'd go out late night race, and they'd put cones out on the track and have to go around them. If I start hitting the cones, Dad would actually step there and be a human cone. Can't hit Dad, that would be a problem. So I did that for about 5 years, and then I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to either build a hot rod from the ground up when I turned 16 with my dad, or build a race car. And I wanted a race car. I knew there's probably less tickets involved. Didn't think about the money at all. But then I got into sport modified. I think it was about an 01 Stardust in the summer of 2016. And I've just kind of been cruising along, slinging dirt ever since.
Nothing wrong with that. That's such a great story about how you got started. You're sitting there, you're like, I got no interest, man. I want to go hang out with my
Oh, I
friends.
thought it was so dumb.
Yeah, my brother, exactly. My brother's, whatever. I don't even know what he's doing. He's down there getting
Going
dirty.
around in circles, right?
Yeah, he
like,
smells
what's
when he
that?
gets back in the
Yeah,
car.
I
That's
was like,
all I
this is
know.
just
So,
gross.
so from the sport mod standpoint, we had Bob Rusinger on, who does cars. And Bob, if you don't know this, Bob has not missed a night of racing at Eagle for whatever class he was racing since 1996.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And I was talking to us a little bit last week about the cost, and it is not cheap. Most people think that sprint cars and late models, it's going to cost you 30, 40 grand a year to run the cars. And Bob's like, no, absolutely not. It is like, he goes, my stock car is like, for a year, whatever, $30,000 to $40,000. Racing is just, it's not an inexpensive hobby. And I know some sponsors have got to help you out and whatever. How do you go about trying to get a sponsor for up and coming racers or ones that just don't know?
Just be yourself and plan and prepare. You can't just send someone like a Facebook message saying, hey, you want to send me some money? It doesn't work that way. The best thing they can do that I found is sit down and write something out, type something out. What are your accomplishments? What are your goals? Not everybody's going to be a winner, right? So you're not necessarily selling your podium finishes. You're selling yourself. So how can you help promote the business in the best way possible? What are they going to get? What's their return on investment to you? And so me, it's more of, I can reach out, I can talk to people, I can give them some suggestions like, hey, you need some plumbing work, we've got this going on. You need a new race car built, I've got these guys, super cool. So just really sell yourself, and don't try to be fake with it. Because just like you can tell if somebody's being fake or not, so can your sponsors or people that you're looking out to get to help you out. So what can they give you and what can you give them in return that's a good value for their money? Great advice. And great advice about if you need a car, if you need a chassis, whatever. I'm going to tell you a place you can go if you want a sprint car. It's Eagle Chassis. Eagle Motorsports LLC has been resurrected. Mike Boston, after Speedway closed them down, acquired the right. Got a shop. Worldwide headquarters of Eagle Chassis is right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. If you are in need of frame repair, not just an Eagle, he'll repair any frame. You can give Mike a call at 402-826-0302. And Eagle Chassis, Mike Boston, proud sponsor of Victory Lane. Let's find out who won the races this week.
Back to the walk. Am I going to have to carry it? Where to? Victory Lane.
Come around here. Head over there. That's where everybody wants to be, and that's where this party's going to finish. Victory
He's
Lane.
waited 15 years to get to Victory Lane in Talladega.
The 11th time in his illustrious career.
Donnie Sean's back in Victory Lane in the Knoxville.
He's making the right-hand turn into Knox Energy Drink Victory Lane.
The most anticipated moment in the history of NASCAR racing. Dale Earnhardt rolling into Victory Lane in the Daytona 500.
And he did roll into Victory Lane back in 2000. And NASCAR today, Chris Beischler winds up winning at Richmond in the Cup Series. Yesterday at Richmond. It was Carson Hocevar who won the Truck Series Xfinity yesterday at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Sam Mayer took home the victory. Next weekend, NASCAR Xfinity will be at Michigan, and next Friday night at Indianapolis Raceway Park is going to be the NASCAR Truck Series. High Limit Series, Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson have that series rolling. They went to Grandview Speedway in Bechtelsville, Pennsylvania on Wednesday. Tuesday night got rained out. They had a rain date built in, though, and Rico Abreu took home the $23,023 place check. Kyle Larson, Brent Marks, second and third. Their next race is going to be on Tuesday, just a couple of days away at Kokomo. It is a makeup date for a rainout from earlier in the season. All-Stars have had themselves a week. Last Sunday, while we were on the air, they were at Red Hill Raceway in Sumner, Illinois. Bill Baylog took home the win there. Wednesday night this week at Benton Speedway, Derek Hagar, a local guy, takes home the win over the All-Stars. Watch that race. It was amazing. Put a heck of a move on Zeb Wise and got the victory. Track took rubber, but Hagar handled it perfectly. Thursday night, Lake Ozark Speedway in Eldon, Missouri. Aaron Reitzel picks up the All-Star win. I-70 Motorsports Park on Friday night. Buddy Kofoid in the 83 Roth car picks up the All-Star win. And then last night at Knoxville, the All-Stars were there, 51 cars on hand. Rico Abreu takes home the victory there. World of Outlaw Sprints rained out up until tonight, and the show is currently going on. The drivers in the dash are Brad Sweet, Brock Zierfoss, David Gravel, Donnie Schatz, Gio Scelzi, Carson Macedo, and Sheldon Hodenshield. And those guys are drawing right now for starting position in the dash at Weed Sport, one of the coolest tracks that there is in Pennsylvania. World of Outlaw late models. Ricky Thornton Jr. last night takes home $62,000 in the Prairie Dirt Classic. Lucas Oil late models are off until mid-August. Knoxville last night. I mentioned the All-Stars were there. Rico took home the win. Garrett Williamson won the 360 class last night at Eagle. Bree could tell you that Jake Galusha won the sprints. Chad and modifieds. The sport mods were won by Adam Armstrong. You came home 19th. In the stock cars, Marty Steinbach got the victory. Ryan Gilland wins the hobby side. And Beatrice again. 2 weeks in a row, they knock out Mother Nature because Mother Nature was winning every week down there for a while. In the sport mods, it was Lee Horkey. Trey Dunsing wins the modifieds. Jordan Grabowski, the stock cars. Hobby stocks won by Taylor Huss. And Kaylee Richards, the sport compact feature, Malvern Bank 360 Series Dark until 8/19 at Junction Motor Speedway. That wraps up Victory Lane, brought to you by Eagle Chassis. So let's talk a little bit about last night at Eagle. Walk me through. This is Bree Fansteel. She is a sport driver out at Eagle Raceway. I'm Mike Person. Jake Bachhoven driver tonight. So walk me through Eagle last night, Bree.
Eagle was an interesting night. Thursday, we did pretty good at Columbus. Got fourth in the feature. That was our best finish there. I was really happy with that. But Eagle was not nice to us. The track was great. It was pretty heavy because of all the rain that was there. So our heat race, we started fourth row. We started fourth. So second row outside. Got caught behind a couple cars, ended up fifth. Just didn't have enough time, and we were pretty backed away from the field on that. So that put us in the B feature. In the B feature, on our starts, we started where we thought we were supposed to start. There's a tire coming out of 4 is where you usually go full throttle. Ended up guys on the outside must have had a different idea, and all right, they went out and they gained a little bit on us coming out of the start. We ended up fourth in that B feature, transferring us to the very last of the A feature. It was still a very heavy track, and it's weird because this year there's been a couple nights that it's been heavy, and the last few years it's just been super dry. So we're just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at the car right now to see what will work because we're not used to it. We maybe only passed a cars, and my engine decided she wanted to be a little spicy and got way too hot, so I pulled in. I think the car handled great. The house just wasn't there last night, which was unfortunate, but it was worth salvaging the car and just pulling in, making a good call on that, and so we can figure out what's going on, why we're having cooling and heating issues.
Hey, and so for those who don't drive, explain what it feels like just when you're in the car versus, sort of the dry track. You can imagine that, but how do you describe it to people who don't get behind the wheel?
So dry track, we call it dry because it's pretty dusty. There's not moisture in the track, and moisture in the track is what you want. You feel like your tires are glued. They're sticking down. Dry, slick track, you feel like you're kind of skating. So if you've ever been down like a gravel road or anything like that, and when you're younger, maybe when you're not as young, you may give it a little bit of gas. Maybe do some donuts, whatever. Try to take your turns kind of fast. It's just like that. You're skating on ice pretty much, and you have to, with dry slick tracks, you have to be very careful on when you pick up the throttle. So how hard you get in, because if you just smash it, you're going to spin your tires and you're not going to go anywhere. And a lot of people are seeing problems with like their tires chunking out or wondering why they're going bald. And it's like, well, you got to be a little easier on the throttle there versus a heavy track or a sticky track. It doesn't matter. Like, everyone's fast on those tracks. You just have to be able to make the right moves and you have to be smart about it. The other is you can be in the throttle way more than you can with a dry slick track. So my old, what is she, like a 9-year-old motor? It's about 15 horses down. She was not happy last night. I was giving her the gas and
all the way
she
around,
was upset.
right?
Oh yeah,
Didn't let
she
the
was
foot up.
upset.
Mhm.
I was letting up a little bit, trying to see if I could maybe take a lower line to help that out and not use as much gas or as much throttle, and it just wasn't there tonight, and that's where we were having problems.
All right, I want to jump in here and take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and I want to talk about now what you're going to have to deal with in the conversation about the mental aspect. Now you've got some extra weight this week. You had a problem, you got to figure out what it is and then how to fix it, and then you got to look at the cost of it, etc. So this is the finish line here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Mike Melby, Jake Bachhoven driving the car, Rebecca Pearson to my right, Bree Fansteel to my left. Back with more after this.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Sometimes playing with a healthy fear is good because it makes you go, 100 out. Because the more tender, I always told kids, I said, listen, if you don't like this and you don't want to play, don't play. Because you're going to be worse off and get probably hurt more by being tentative in your play as opposed to all out.
Day 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Battleground, who has been serving local contractors and contractors all across the state since 1997. You know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company. Go Big Red!
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It's so beautiful. I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman. Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island, SutterHeyman.com.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to NovotnyNutritionandWellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior. Junior Achievement of Lincoln inspires and prepares young people for success. Learn more about the people involved in the organization and the success stories over the years each Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. for the Junior Achievement Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. There are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? Big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Are you ready to upgrade your combine? From the widest selection of used combine, Acres, Nebraska's leading John Deere dealer, 0.9% interest for 60 months on over 100 pre-owned. Each combine plus uptime program to keep you flawlessly throughout harvest season. Go.com to view a huge inventory of late model equipment, which you like, and we'll deliver it to your farm for free. Acres, solutions for every field.
Back to the finish. Mike Melvin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the finish line. I'm Mike Melby. Jake Bachhoven driving the car tonight. Rebecca Pearson to my right. Bree Fansteel, Sport Mod driver from Eagle Raceway, hanging out. And we heard about your night last night. Your 9-year-old motor got a little upset with you. So now, from a mental standpoint, now we all know what you've got to do. You've got to go home. You got to tear the motor apart a little bit. You got to test some things, probably fire it up. You're going to look at this, whether you're checking whatever, but you and your dad are going to work on it. That could take 45 minutes to diagnose, fix, and cost $100. Or you could be doing it for the next 2 weeks and go, you know what, it's not safe to drive because we just don't know what's wrong with it. You could be out for a few weeks. But you're going to be putting in a lot of extra hours. You have a full-time job. This is all extra stuff. From the mental standpoint, just on a weekly, like yourself, what's it like when you have a normal week versus a week like this?
There's definitely some mental fatigue that happens. Obviously just being able to strap in the car makes everything worth it, seeing the kids out there cheering you on, but it can get pretty rough. And I don't think for the people who aren't necessarily in the sport that they always realize that, and that's okay. But we're not going out there winning a bunch of money. Like we're doing the opposite of that. We're spending a lot of money. Me and my friends, we always joke that racing is our second job, like our second full-time job. I'll work my 8-9 hours a day, and as soon as I'm done, I go to the shop and, go through everything, weekly maintenance. Let's say we're greasing U-joints, lubing different Hymas, cleaning out the radiator, doing a bolt check. That can take me, let's say, one good night to make sure everything's done, thorough, good to go, other than washing. And that's such a nice night, such a nice week. And then I don't know really what to do with myself except, well, we got projects we got to catch up on, regular things we need to take care of, maintain those friendships and relationships. But on the nights that maybe you got a little too squirrely, maybe someone really used you up and you got some body work, well, that maybe adds on another night. It can kind of take a mental strain if you're working, let's say, a combined 80 hours a week. So you've got your day job to pay for your hobby, and then you work hard to make sure, it can hold up to what it needs to. And then you don't see the results you want to see. It can start to kind of put you down a little bit. I will say it's something you definitely need to be in a good mental headspace for, to get into if you want to get into it seriously, because it will bring you if you're not careful. A lot of what I do when I get out at the track before races, I pray that, we're safe, the car's going to be okay, that I'm able to do the best that I can stay focused, but also that I can accept finished. Because if I put too much, too high of expectations on myself, I'm just that low that I could feel from not meeting those expectations is going to be horrendous. Right. Versus if I just go out there and just like all the little kids that come up afterwards and they're like, oh my gosh, it's a race car.
Right. They don't care.
guys,
Yeah.
girls, we're in race cars. Like
Yeah.
we should take it seriously, but like be thankful for where we're at.
Sure. Well, and tell us about your sponsors that have been with you from the beginning, right? You said you had the right idea for how to get them, and I'm sure they're critical to you continuing. So tell us about them. Who are they? How have they helped you over the years?
Yeah, for sure. One of my main sponsors is R&R Customs. They do custom hauling and baling. He's one of my buddies, and he took a bet on me, and I won the bet. And I was like, "You're getting on the race car." It was just kind of like a funny thing, and he's been able to help me. I think develop my program within the last 2 years, really. Without his support, I don't know if we would have been able to get some of the finishes we have been, because we've always been on really old equipment but we're getting newer bolt-ons, and we're seeing an increase in speed. Also, I've got Speedway Motors. I joke, I'm telling my boss and my coworkers all the time, I'm like, I don't think I'd be able to race without them. Their program that they have for us is amazing, getting the parts discount and knowing that they're local. So I can place my little order online, drive 15 minutes to go get whatever weird part I need, and I can come back and I can put it on the car. So maybe I don't find something till like 2 days before I go racing. I don't have to worry about getting it shipped to me necessarily. If I had to, it's nice that they've got 3 different distribution centers over the US. So they're looking at about 1 to 2 day shipping time frames wherever you are in the continental US, which is super nice. I've also got Twisted Dirt, custom dirt track headers. I love me some stainless steel headers. They are chef's kiss. Love them so much. I've also got the Auto Connection of Lincoln. They were the first. So my dad, he was on a pit crew long time ago with Kevin Anderson, who owns the Auto Connection. Kevin had the 01 Sartison sitting in his backyard. That's what we put lipstick on the pig with that thing. And he's always been there, giving us advice, words of encouragement. He's allowed me to take the car in and do some scaling, they've got a nice tire machine, so I can put my tires over there. They're just great people. And it's nice knowing them and knowing that, when I take my daily driver in, I know who the person is, and I know that all the workers there are really nice people. They're genuine people, and I like that. We've also got Jet Racing. He's taken great strides with me. He's helped me with my driving development, especially this year. They're kind of another one of those one-stop shops. I love my Jet Racing chassis. Like, in the past, we've had some issues with older cars, tweaked, whatever. And then as soon as I got in a Jet, was last year, won my first heat race, started getting some top 10s. Most of my heat races I was qualifying out of, and their tech support that they have is on another level. Like, you can buy a product, whatever. You're going to be buying a lot of pieces of metal, but what you're getting with these chassis manufacturers, if you go to the right ones like Jet Racing, you're getting the support behind that as well. And they're right out of Beatrice, Nebraska. So they're pretty close too, which is nice.
Where I spend my days, another story. So, and your story to me is very classic. People starting out, right? And 10 years from now, we're going to be talking to you. You're going to be winning everything. We're going to say, hey, we knew Brandon, right? But it's a very classic story of you're putting lipstick on someone else's pig. You're borrowing parts. You've got a day job full time. You're doing this at night. These early sponsors are people that really want to be a part of your journey, really make it happen. So for people that are listening that really want to try this sometime, we like to help understand what it takes. So that's a great journey as you describe it. Now, what's the day job like?
So the day job, it's great. I was able to turn my hobby into also my work in a sense. So I do work at Speedway Motors up until tomorrow I start a new position, our e-commerce department.
Ooh, okay.
But I was a sales trainer, so I did training for about 3.5 years. I got to train our employees on how to sell parts to our customers, how to answer questions, technical questions, and also how to level up. And so I've been very fortunate that I get to do that. I still get to learn more about car parts, and I'm kind of teaching myself as I'm working, and then I get to apply it when I get off of work and then go to the shop. I've learned a lot just by working with that company. My dad would just shoe. I could wash the car. He could tell me, hey, go take this part off, go do this, and I'd do it. But I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Yeah, you want to learn it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I want to
we
know
talked about
why
that.
we're doing things, and that's been a staple in my development.
We've all been pit crew at one point in time. I was pit friends. You were pit crew for friends. Yeah, it's a fun job, but that's how you learn, right?
Oh, it is. And it was funny. We had Tyler Perry on about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, and Tyler's, of course, promoting the Stuart Alley Memorial on September 10th out at Eagle Raceway, and that's a hell of a show. I mean, you're talking the late models and the 360s back at Eagle.
That's gonna be wild,
insane. And he said, I got into racing, and I realized driving's not really where my specialty is going to be, and I want to be around this. I got bit, and he looked at like a modified or a late model, and he's like, there are way parts here. Sprint cars are easy. So like you're tackling, and I'll be honest, sprint cars are relatively easy to understand. There's a very limited number of parts. There's a very limited number of adjustments and changes that you can make. And even somebody like me can learn how to work on a sprint car and make it go fast, as long as it's not the motor. Don't let me over. So yeah, don't ask for my advice on what you need to do with your motor.
Noted.
Your stroke motor. But you're tackling like real grassroots racing with a modified car that has 1,000 different things that you have to know. When you first started getting to the point where you were able to go, hey, Dad, I got this. Yeah, you tell me. What was that like? And how is it working with your dad now that you have the knowledge you do?
I'm so glad you said that. Dad, I hope you're listening. Felt so accomplished. I'm like, yeah, I can change those gears. I got this. I remember we used to switch between I-80 Speedway, that's no longer open. It's a bigger track between there and Columbus, which is a smaller track, US 30 Speedway. And we always had to change gears. Those things are heavy. First off, it's like 80, 90 pounds. So I had to hit the gym. That was my first problem. And then we were always switching. He'd let me, unbolt it, do this and this and this. And I'd start to memorize what tools I needed. And I'm a very determined person. And I had to feel like I'd be able to contribute an equal amount to the program, if at all possible. So I started taking notes. I started taking notes on my phone, like, here's the tools I need to do this. I was going to learn one thing at a time. Like later in the off season, I'd like to learn how to build an engine. That's going to be a big thing. I'm going to need a dictionary of notes. But I started taking notes, tools I need. Here's the steps at what I take things apart. You don't want to do them at the wrong time. Here's what you got to make sure you do, don't forget to put the rear end grease in. You're going to have problems. And then one night I got started on it without telling him. He was in the house. I got started on it, was trying to be quiet, not even playing. He got out. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm changing the gears. And he's like, well, don't forget to. And I was like, I know. He's like, well, and make sure you. And I'm like, yeah, no. He's like, oh, and I was like, Dad, go inside. He's like, well, if it doesn't work, it's on you. I said, it's gonna work. It was the greatest feeling ever.
Well, and Big Money chimes in on the Sutter Heyman text line and says the track last night, how rough it was, does not help with maintenance.
No,
because it probably hurt your motor a little bit, and it's going to break a shock. It's gonna you're going to have some issues, and it's not a lot of fun. Getting back to the mental health side of it, Jacob Allen stepped away from the 1A for an indefinite amount of time, and he had a great post on his Facebook page that essentially explained, look, I don't have a problem, okay? What I have is mental fatigue. This is a grind. We race anywhere between 2 and 5 nights a week for 10 months out of the year. I've been doing it for 10 years. He just got married last off season. And granted, he grew up with it, and there's guys that live this life and they love it, and they're going to do it till the day they die. But Jacob's a guy that last year got his first 5 wins. He'd been on the tour for 9 years, never won a race, won 5 times last year. This year hasn't been what they had hoped. They're right back where they were, and it's just draining. So if you were to move to a regional, you said you used to run Columbus and I-80. Okay, well, what if you guys start running Columbus and maybe Boone and somewhere down in Missouri and Eagle, and run 3 to 4 times a week, and you turn it into kind of a bigger part than your actual real
Mhm.
job. Can you imagine what the mental fatigue would be like there?
I think it'd be big. I think it'd be something you'd have to prepare. It's a lot just mentally preparing yourself for a race. You know, I'm doing breathing exercises before I go out because I noticed, you know, I wasn't as focused before in years prior. You got to make sure you're in shape. It's gonna wear you out. Your body's gonna be tired. You got to make sure you're eating right. You're drinking plenty of water, especially with how hot it is. And then if you add on, you know, you're doing more of all the physical work on the car, that's a lot. You have to have somebody to help you out. You got to have somebody who you're or getting things ready. You know, you got to manage all your social media accounts, make sure you're responding to everyone, being a good person. You can't just leave people on red. It doesn't
Especially
work
with
that way.
sponsors, right?
Yeah, you got to be nice. People are taking their time to reach out to you. You need to be respectful and reach back out to them. It takes a lot. It would be very difficult just a 2-person team or 1 person. If we were still at a 1 or 2-person team, I'm not sure it would be manageable. Just because I know that mental fatigue would kick in. You have to prepare for it. I think something like that would be fun, but you have to be realistic.
What is your fitness routine and your nutrition? Like, you know, people don't always think about car racing as being athletic. We know because we're all race fans. What is your routine? How do you deal with that?
Well, aside from the racetrack chicken strips, love those.
Absolutely.
Some people
healthy,
listening will
yes,
know
right.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Spicy chicken poppers. You're where I go.
No, too much for me. But I like my french fries, my chicken strips. But aside from that, I got a part-time job at Good Life Fitness, teaching boot camp. Met a lot of good friends
course
through
you did.
there.
Totally fits your personality.
Well, of course,
I used to do that too. So yeah, we're buds.
Well, they gave me a mic and I get to
Yeah.
be a DJ. It's super fun.
Right.
But I'll make sure I'm hitting my cardio. If I don't have a lot of time, maybe I need to catch up on social media. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got an hour before my full-time job starts, and that is right after the hour of teaching. Then I'll get on the bike or I'll get on the treadmill, and I've got my phone out and I'm making all my posts and getting them scheduled for, okay, this one's going to go out on this day at this time. This one's going to go out this day on this time. I'm going to make a flyer through this app to do this and this and this. But I try to make sure I'm at least during the race season getting 2 to 3 days of working out. So whether that be a class, a boot camp class, making sure, you know, we're not lifting heavy. Don't want any like strain on my muscles for when I'm getting in the car. That's the off season. The off season is when it doesn't matter. You're slamming protein shakes and energy drinks and doing all of that fun stuff. But during the summer, I'm usually doing just a lot of cardio to make sure I can handle, you know, if we're sitting in a race suit baking up a DiGiorno pizza, that all is well and we can still make it through.
Right. Well, we talked about, you know, what a drain this can be. And we've heard all kinds of stories from folks that like you that are in it for the long haul. Why do you do it? You've got the bug. Okay. But what's the bug about? Why do you do it? What gets you up every day? Why do you want to keep doing it?
I want to be better than I was before.
What do you do to be better?
What do I do to be better? Well, we started out with working out.
Okay.
That because I've had races where I'm like, gosh, dang it, you know, maybe we could have advanced a few spots if my shoulders weren't tired, or if I was able to crank on the wheel a little bit harder because that track was super rough and get on the gas, but I wasn't strong enough to do it,
right?
Or it wasn't strong enough to work on my own car because these parts are too heavy. So I started working out, and that has helped me out a lot. I've started the breathing exercises. I actually started a couple weeks ago because I noticed I was focused for the first half of like every race I was in. And then the last half, I just started getting really like antsy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in a race car. This is so much fun. Well, that doesn't work all the time. You need to be focused. So I started doing breathing exercises, start reviewing footage. We have an in-car camera, GoPro, so I'll see what am I doing on the wheel. Am I overcorrecting for things? Am I anticipating my turns? And then I'll watch an outside video as well to see what that race was like. So reviewing how I felt in the car and then what it looked like to everyone else, kind of get some feedback. Make sure you get enough sleep. That's pretty hard to do. You know, if you've got a car that's crumpled up like a ball of tin,
Yep.
you're not getting much sleep. So maybe sleep in the car on the way. But
do you have a driving mentor? Does somebody give you any advice, or people at the track? I mean, we've talked about camaraderie before, so maybe we can talk about that after the break.
Let's go ahead and jump into a quick break here. It's the finish line here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Mike Melby, Jake Bachhoven driving the car. Bree Fansteel, Sport Mod driver from Eagle Raceway, joining us, as well as Rebecca Pearson back with after this.
Too many people believe that pain, allergies, or illness are and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to NovotnyNutritionandWellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful. I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman. Yeah, we would definitely Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're
definitely coming back.
Sure. Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Beam? Step Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving. Go cardio crazy in our clean and spacious clubs, or get down with some dumbbells and strength equipment. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month. It's glow time. See Club for details.
The Southern Pecan Cake, Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. There are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View import online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even a garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest, quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
The Nebraska soccer team wants to see you this fall at Hibner Stadium for their 2023 season. Season tickets are on sale now. Reserve your spot to cheer on the Huskers as they take on some of the best teams in the Big Ten and around the country. Opponents include Missouri, Wisconsin, St. Louis, and more. To buy tickets, go to Huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED. They have a full season of fun set for this fall. For promotional information, visit Huskers.com.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash. Visit Haymarket Park all summer, Fridays, souvenir Saturdays, Sunday family fun days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run with group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun with the Salt Dogs. Call 402-474-2. Visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
With Mike Melby on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the finish line. I'm Mike Melby, joined in studio by Bree Fansteel, Sport Mod driver from Eagle Raceway, Jake Bachhoven driving the car, Rebecca Pearson to my right. Big thanks to Big Money. His daughter's a huge fan of yours, by the way, Bree.
Awesome.
He's in on the Starter Heyman text line. You can be a part of the show, 402-464-5685. Sutter Heyman text line, also the Honda of Lincoln hotline. And a big thanks to Sutter Heyman for the live stream. We stream live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and Allo 951 when the computer's cooperating. It's not right now. But big thanks to all of our sponsors. And I know, Rebecca, you had a great one that I didn't think of before the show, and I love it. So let's jump back in.
All right. So usually you have a mentor somewhere along the way. You talked about your dad and your brother helping you get. Do you have someone in the pits that helps mentor you and driving, gives you tips from watching your in-car camera? How do you get feedback?
Yes. So I've got 2 mentors. One is Johnny the Jet Sadoff. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yes.
He's been around a very long time, and he has given me some really good tips going into this year. And then my buddy who joined our team just about a month ago, who has helped us make some pretty big strides. He's been there assisting as well. So those 2 guys, I can't thank them enough, because they've both been in cars or are still in cars, and they're able to kind of see, what I'm struggling with, what I'm fighting, and how to get around that.
And a shout out to the guys, because this is still a male dominated sport. I grew up in a male dominated industry. I worked in corporate, I worked in engineering, lubricants. So hopefully you got Mobil 1 in your car. But, for those guys who are allies that help women who are coming in, just drivers in general, but women in particular, just because, when you enter into a sport like that, it's just, you're a little bit of the fish out of water. So shout out to those guys that help you do that. And hopefully one of these days we'll have more women. Now, sometimes they get aggressive on the track. So talking about men and women.
We kind of broached the subject, a little foreshadowing back in the first segment. Aggressive driving versus somebody getting punted. And you said, oh, I have a couple of great stories. I'd love to hear them.
Well, I don't know if I'll share all of the stories. First off, there's something that we learned in karting, and it was something that we had to think about in the big cars, is they're getting taken out. That's a very big thing. There's using the guy up next to you. That's a big thing. But sometimes what people don't understand, and something that I've had to learn as a driver, is there's also the driver who's getting wrecked, putting themselves in a position to be wrecked. And I know that sounds really, really bad. We heard that back in karting from somebody, but if you really think about it, that holds a lot of weight. If you're going to, let's say there's 2 people on the straightaway, person below you has position, you're both at the door. If you can see them, now I'm not saying you got to crank your head and break your neck, but if you can see their nose anywhere, they have position. Something that you can do, being aggressive, is make sure you get up to their cockpit or their window net. That's how you know you have position. If you let out of it, that's not being aggressive. If you stay with it and try to hold your line, that's being aggressive. That's driving aggressively, but still respectfully. Now, there's some people who aren't doing that. You're going into a turn, person on the outside can't see you because you're not to their window net yet, and you just drive straight into that corner and plow into them. That's punting or taking someone out. Intentionally trying to get them out of your way, using them up. And unfortunately, sometimes there's people who don't realize they're doing those things and they're not aware of their surroundings. But there's also putting yourself in a position to be wrecked. So let's say you've got the same 2 people on the straightaway. You can see each other. Like, I know there's a car next to me, and you turn down because you're only thinking about the cars in front of you and trying to change your line. You're not thinking about who's right next to you. If you turn down, there's one thing you can do as the driver getting turned down on, is you can keep driving. You can slam into them. That will actually help them, probably break some things on your front end, break some things on them, or you can let out. I have done this, and they spin. Then they think, oh, why'd you spin me out? And it's like, buddy, you put yourself in a position to be wrecked. Right. It was not my intention to be there. You literally drove in front of the car. Now, I could have helped you by hurting both of our cars, or I could let out and have you spin in front of me. Unfortunately, that's what happens.
Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, whose side are you on?
Plead the 5th. I'm not trying to make enemies.
Yeah.
Hamlin's wrecked Larson so many times, and Kyle even said it last week. He's like, every time we have these conversations, him apologizing to me. So,
So, so one thing I want to ask you about what you've just described, and I'm in there with you because I remember the first I ever had to someone, the adrenaline rush in your first race. You have to remember all of that. And you probably don't even know all of that. So it's the gentleman's courtesies of driving. You don't do this, you don't do that. How were you in your first race, knowing how to deal with all of that and just trying to get around the track? What was it like? Do you remember?
Okay. First obstacle was learning how to shift.
Yeah, right.
That was the biggest thing.
I'm like, I have to shift. Yes.
Are we in third? I think we're in third. Okay, we're gonna go. What we did is we opted to be in the back. It's something that people have been starting to talk about more recently on social media again, just because we've been seeing problems in races. Is if you don't think that your car is going to handle right, or you don't have a good grip on your car, it's going to cost somebody else, because these are our 40 extra hours a week, then start in the back. I was pretty nervous and I lagged back on the start. But my very first race, I made sure that I was in the back. There's nobody around me. I had at least a car width between the person in front of me, just in case something happened with them in front of me and I was already going, because I got to remember, here's where I pick up my throttle. Here's where I hit brake. If I'm using my brake, then do I have enough front brake? Do I have enough rear brake? Make sure you're turning, learning where the car's at. I mean, when I first got into a street car, I was hitting curbs. I probably still do. I don't know where my everything is. I'm one of them typical Altima drivers. But just a lot of caution was what was going through. I was not going full speed because I wanted to make sure that the person who was leading the race didn't have to worry about me spinning out in front of them. And unfortunately, I've been there.
Right.
I've done that in front of people and I feel so horrible about it, but that's just kind of something learning is just trying not to make those mistakes. The other thing I'd like to say is race how you want to be raced. Race how you want to be raced and let that sink in.
Yeah.
Me personally, I know a lot of other drivers do it. I give you one shot. And if I like you, I'll give you 2 shots. But if you keep pinching, you keep doing it, I'm going to do the same back to you. And that probably goes into the whole Larson Hamlin thing is, he kept getting wrecked, whatever it was. And he's like, all right, words are just words. Now we got to use some actions. Unfortunately, that's what it takes. You never want it to be unsafe, but it may just be as simple as a little door ding, a little bumper slam. Just race how you want to be raced.
Very, very good words of advice. Bree Fansteel, sport mod driver from Eagle Raceway and traveling around, raced at Columbus as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in tonight. Had a blast, and we wish you the best of luck in finding the problem with the motor and getting
Thank
it
you.
fixed inexpensively.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. We have got Ricky Simmons. He's going to get your happy on, and hang on, got to find the glasses. Ashley Schweitzer, I believe, is going to be his guest in studio tonight. And it's always a fantastic hour with Ricky. Rebecca, thank you so much. Fantastic job as always. Jake Bachhoven driving the car. We'll step aside. Ricky Simmons in next. Get your happy on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Bud Seinhorst, President and CEO of LIBA, the Lincoln Independent Business Association. Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket for the LIBA Business Hour.